perfect person to ask because I just wrote an article about the 15th anniversary of Jazz Night. It appeared in the Afro today. This is a wonderful, wonderful event. I have been coming since the very first one. I brought my parents here. I tell people about it. This is a wonderful opportunity, and the space itself is like a family. I mean, the music is wonderful. You cannot beat straight ahead jazz. And I would encourage anybody and everybody to come down here.
This is a second family. We walk in the door when we first come here. You don't really know anybody, and then after you've come for years, like I have on Friday, you develop a family here.
What Jazz Night means to me?
Yeah.
It means a place for me to go and enjoy myself. You get to hear the good ones. You get to hear the better ones. You get to hear the best ones.
We started doing Jazz Night down here at Westminster as a way to bring some life into our community and to bring people together from different backgrounds and to begin to have a conversation about those things that we have in common, those things that we don't have in common. We started doing jazz because jazz is a universal language that everybody speaks on one level or another. And so jazz was something that I had had some experience in doing in the past, and so this is something that we talked about within the Westminster church community, and we had a lot of support for it. And so we went out looking for the right people who could introduce us to the jazz community, the musicians and artists here in DC. I was new to DC, I didn't really know who was who. So we went out and met Dick Smith up at Northminster Church. They were doing a Jazz Vespers up there. And Dick was a performer there with Keter Betts was there, Tootsie Gripper. So we just started talking through the latter half of 1998. And then Dick introduced us to Mr. Banks, who he'd been working with in the past. And so we decided to go ahead and do it after the Dr. King celebration at Howard University in January. So the first date was the 22nd of January of 1999, and we haven't stopped since.
Yeah, that's about correct. Well, I've been working with Let 'Em Play since actually I came to Washington in '67, and I was on the board of directors from 1972 on through, and involved in the jazz community. And Banks and I had tried to keep Let 'Em Play alive for all those years after Tony Taylor died, who really started Let 'Em Play. We had worked with Tony Taylor, and he had all kinds of things going on. And the jazz community at that time, it was right. When I first got in, it was all before they had two unions. The unions were split, and then they kind of consolidated, because black guys were in one union, white guys in another union, and they kind of came together. A lot of guys didn't have any place to play. So we was just looking for places to play. And then, I mean, Brian was just, it was like a blessing for us because it gave us a facility, because we didn't have nowhere to have, you know, a venue. And then they also sponsored play the guys, because a lot of guys weren't getting anything. So then we started and we just stuck with it, and it just turned out wonderful. You know, it turned out to be a wonderful thing. But it was, you know, it was a good thing.
Well, when we first started, of course, you know, we only charged $5, and we wanted to do that really intentionally because we always wanted this program to be accessible to everybody, regardless of financial capacity. So we still charge $5 today. I don't know how much longer we can hold that, but we've been doing it for all these many years. When we first started, it was just word of mouth. You know, Mr. Banks and Dick invited me up to Howard, and we just made an announcement that we were going to do some programs down at the church. And the first couple of weeks we had about 30 people, 35 people here. By the third week we had 100 people. And the word of mouth just kind of kicked in, and people just kept talking to each other. And so it kind of slowly grew that whole first year. In the beginning of 2000, we were really fortunate to have an article show up in the Washington Post magazine. It was published on February the 20th, I believe, of 2000. Mark Fisher, who was a writer for the Washington Post, got interested in what we were doing. And when that article came out, it was a cover story on the Washington Post magazine. That was advertising you just couldn't buy. And after that, people started coming in large numbers. And it's kind of slowly grown. We also realized that a significant amount of what makes jazz so important is to really get into the story of it and the narrative. We are truly committed to DC jazz. So we're very confident that we're going to be here for a real long time because jazz is alive and people get it. It's an important, vital force in DC. And it's been a great community. There have been so many people who've contributed to this and really made it work. And that's why it's lasted as long as it has, is because there are just so many people who've contributed.